experience here is double as an economist, an academician, but also as advisor of the last 3 Ministry of Environment in Italy, especially of the Minister of Costa, and then less after that. And in a commission for the removal of environmentally harmful subsidies. Also, I with the Ministry of Finance for the placement of green government bonds in Italy, which, as you know, is a part of the government bonds where we compete with other countries. France is considered one of the best. So I wondered a lot, how to make it sustainable. And I start with the famous say of Alex Langer, you may know, an Italian activist, who said the ecological transition will happen when it will be socially sustainable, socially advisable. My point is that recently I started working on a strange topic, which is the topics of conspiracy believer. The European Social Survey. You have this question about COVID, a question about politics, a question about science. It says the scientists are manipulated deliberately data to give us an idea of what happens. Okay, and this works in environment for the negationists, those who negate climate change, and also for the COVID. And I show you that the group of these people now believe in this. It's incredibly high. Still, on average, in Europe, is 33. 1/3 of the Europeans believe in scientific conspiracy. They answer agree or strongly agree. And what are the drivers of this? The driver, where does it come from? My idea is that it comes from the ideas that there is a large class of enraged losers from globalization, people who suffered the increase of inequality, income inequality. They have they are in the lower income decile, they have low education, and they have financial problem. Okay, these people have a very peculiar preferences. They're exactly the people that populists like. They are more in favor of distribution of income. They focus more on security. They focus more on protection from migrants. They don't want many migrants. They care less about the environment. They care less about civil rights. Okay, so this is the people that the right-wing parties look at to stop the. Oh, sorry, what I did.
The other way, other button.
Okay, sorry. So that's the point. So we have 2 papers showing, what are the drivers of this conspiracy beliefs. And my point, this is, for example, showing why it is correlated with financial difficulties. People who say they have financial difficulty are more likely to be conspiracy believers. And to me, the reaction against environmental change is we have to look really deeper to the psychological roots. The psychological root is there are 2 types of things. One is psychoanalytic suppression of unpleasant things. If I believe that there's nothing to do about climate change, I'm desperate, so it's better not to think of it. It's better to believe in the negationist scientists. Okay, so that's one point. First point is we have to convince people that it's not impossible. Okay, otherwise they prefer to remove, they prefer to suppress. And also conspiracy. Conspiracy is a psychological reaction where you try to take control and agency of your life against something that you don't like. Okay, so and is what is a simplified version of the reality. There is some big problem that you're living, and in order not to feel guilty, you create a simplified version of the reality. You find some scapegoats, and this makes you living better. Okay. And that's why people with low education are more likely to do this, because, of course, if you are well educated, you cannot believe to such a simplified version of the reality. You know that the reality is more complex. All these people tend not to vote, and this is about the division between the conspiracy believers and non-voters, and voters and non-conspiracy believers. These are the things I was saying you before about what they think about security, what they think about civil rights, what they think about the environment. See, care for the environment, bottom left. You see the people who abstain, they're much more likely to care less about environment. Okay, so the problem is how can we for these people, we really have to convince them that we can reconcile environmental change with distribution of income. We should not pose the weight on the shoulder of low-income people in order to avoid the yellow vest reaction. Okay. So where do I think some of these win-win opportunities? For example, the first one is something that we did in Italy, and it was successful. It's going to be the React EU. Basically, the idea to give $1.5 billion tax credit for installation of solar panel on the roofs of small, medium firms and artisan firms. And this is win-win because you reduce the cost of firms, and of course you make ecological transition. And second, this is France. I like very much what they did and trying to push it in Italy as much as I can. So the idea of making compulsory for parking with more than 50 cars photovoltaic panels. Of course, the main issue is reducing administrative barrier to now there is a new idea of giving incentive to region which remove or reduce administrative problems. In Italy, we say that there are, I mean, it's overestimated. We say there are 200 gigawatt projects corresponding to at least 200 gigawatt of new capacity to be installed that are stopped by regulation. No? Most of them are offshore, wind projects. I think that something that will really trigger also the favor of people will be when people can use their car as power bank. They can use the electricity they have in their car, they can sell it on the market, or they can use it to recharge their houses. That will be really great. The people will like it. Of course, we need some technological adjustment to do this, but this is going to be very important because at the moment, at least in Italy, people believe that the ban of non-electric car in 2035 are like something really terrible that is going to block their freedom. Of course, it is not like that because, on my opinion, on my forecast, in 5-6 years, the electric car will be much cheaper and will be much more convenient than non-electric car. But this is what people believe will be. Also, of course, investment in the electric smart grid is very important. Something I worked very much on is the energy communities in Italy. There is a law on. In North Europe, energy communities are very much developed. In Italy, we have a law to move to primary cabin. So basically, you can build a very large community. This is very important. European Union says that energy communities should account for around 10-15% of total energy produced with renewables. Why? Because you produce and consume energy in the place. So you also provide a service of the congestion of the electric grids. So it's very important, but to me, it's important, especially for another reason, because it makes people participate to the change. And so it reduces a lot the NIMBY attitude. We have a paper showing that the transition game moves from a prisoner dilemma to a stagnant game and then to a cooperation game in energy communities, because basically it is convenient to cooperate. It is for prosumer and passive consumer. It's a game between prosumer and passive consumer because the community is made by people who have plants and consume, other people that are just consumers. As you know, the benefits here are 3 types. You don't pay the energy that you produce. You can sell energy on the market, very low price. But third, you have an incentive for self-consumption, which is quite important. The last point I wanted to touch here, in Italy, there's been a big, I think in synthesis, there are transition is 3 things: changing the source of energy, switch to renewable, moving to changing the car, changing the houses. And then what is more difficult is the house. No? And so that's really where we need European money, European investment, because it is not possible. Lots of people will not do by themselves. And in Italy, we have this 110 credit, which was built. Of course, it gave an incredible boost to the market, also to economic growth, but it created a big problem now of deficit and government debt. Why? First of all, because you shouldn't go to 110, because 110, you need to you created a conflict of interest. There was a growth of the spending or whatever. And so the other problem is that a very important point is that you can sell your tax credit, which is very good for people who don't have fiscal capacity. No? If you want also the poor to do this, you need to create this opportunity to sell the tax credit. But the rule had to be much more strict. You must put a rule that you can sell only once. You must put a rule that you have to use it over the 5 years and not only the first year. The way they did, they created another currency. This is a currency because if I take the tax credit, I make it circulate 100 times in a year. I'm increasing the velocity of money, circulation of money. So that's also why they were frightened. So, but and Eurostat created a problem for us because they said you have to consider it as debt all the first year. That was the product for Italy. But if you make it in another way, that was my proposal to the government. First of all, any law must have a limit, a limit in the expenditure. Okay, so you have to say, any year I want to spend for house retrofit 5 billion. If there is someone arrives that after this cap, it will be financed the next year. Okay, no problem. There will be a big day. Okay, but you cannot spend more than 5 billion. So you have to make a cap. You have not to be 100% or 110%, of course, and you have to make a very strict rule for the sale of the tax credit. I think that the sale of tax credit is good because it helps the poor to do that, but with very strict rule that the people is not afraid that it becomes creation of money. And last point I wanted to make. To show that it is important that my private battle in Italy to show that transition is important is about we will get free. We will get free from inflation. We will get free from the fact that I always say the price of sun and wind is not made by the Amsterdam market of gas and it's not made by OPEC. Today I was in another conference where it was impressive. There was the data about the price of Amsterdam gas and the price paid by Italian energy companies, which was like this. So basically, our inflation in Italy was created by a giant bubble, which was a giant profit of the energy companies. It could be completely prevented, even with an antitrust action. Okay, basically say you cannot put that price. You have to put the price at which you paid with long-term contract the gas. And we made the example of France. France had much lower inflation because France is, I don't know, 80% or whatever, has a lot of nuclear energy. So we will get free from future inflation if we accelerate the transition. So that's one argument, at least in Italy. And now we are keeping spending money to pay the gas bills of the families, of the house, of the poor houses. Okay, so that's really crazy. That's my point in my first round. Thank you.